Right. Hey, Lauren, how are you today?
Hi, Tiffany.
Happy Friday.
TGIF. Oh my God.
Yes.
TGIF, and it feels like fall. It's
Does
exciting.
feel like fall, doesn't it? I know. Well, we are going to end the week off on a very positive note. I'm just waiting to make sure we're all set up over here.
I'm
Hopefully, we're going to get that all streaming. Do you see us live right now, Lauren, on LinkedIn or YouTube? I just want to make sure that we are there.
I don't see us live on LinkedIn, but it always seems to be whenever I think, oh, yeah, yeah, here we are. Every time. I think
There.
we're not, and we are.
Okay, I'm gonna go live here because it doesn't seem to be going right now here.
But yeah, we're all good on LinkedIn.
We're all good on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Okay, and I think we're finally up there over on Instagram. So
I'll check YouTube.
we should be ready to rock and roll. We're gonna give it just a second to make sure that's all set up here. But I think it's loading. Looks good so far. And we are so happy to kick off our Friday event with you guys for our Career Accelerator. Please know this is really kind of open style for you to get support that you need. We want this to feel very free flowing. And if this is your first time joining Lauren and myself, well, we're so happy to have you join us. My name's Tiffany. I'm a CEO and a career coach, and we focus on empowering mid-stage senior professionals in leveling up in your career, getting ahead faster, and really mastering a lot of the soft skill strategy that's going to set you up as a peak performer and help you welcome more into your career and life. So, if that sounds good to you, that's what we're here to do together. We know there's a lot of information out there, and Lauren, my incredible head of growth, who joins us every week or every second week that we do this. We love coming together and supporting you in some of your biggest questions that you might have in where you're at in your career right now. As a reminder, we host these every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we are streaming live across Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So please join us on whichever platform is more comfortable for you to ask your questions. We want to make sure that we're able to get those in. We normally see those come up pretty quickly on our end as well. So all questions are welcome. We want to make sure that we're helping you work through some key opportunities or challenges that you might be facing right now in your career. And hey, Lauren, oh,
Hi.
good to have you here.
So fun. I have LinkedIn up, and I think I froze at some point. So it's like,
That's okay. Sometimes
oh,
it does that in the background.
so you but no, Tiffany, I'm super excited. Can I start with a win?
Yeah, go for it.
So we have a we'll say client, but a regular attendee of our LinkedIn Lives used your advice from last week. He actually joined our Career Growth Accelerator workshop. It's been in
Oh,
his organization for 3 years. Conversations needed to really start about next steps for him. And I just got a note that he had that conversation with his boss and it went fantastic. And we were totally
oh,
aligned. And he just wanted to say big kudos, thank you. But, used a lot of your tips and felt very confident going into those conversations because of the Career Growth Accelerator Masterclass.
oh, that's so amazing to hear, Lauren. Thanks for sharing that. And I mean, we've been getting so many of those updates from our lives that we host, just because we also really want to give you guys like very practical action steps. So whether it's been one of our free events, or like our workshops or master classes, or joining us here on Fridays, we just love giving you those insights that you can take and run with. And maybe just on that note, real quick, so I don't forget, we have an amazing one coming up that's actually in popular demand because we've been getting a lot of questions from our community around new job success. A lot of people that are reaching out either in our DMs or emails have recently started a new role or have been recently promoted into a role. And they're like, okay, this is great, but like, I want to make sure I really nail this, right? And so we're putting together actually an all new workshop called Nail Your First 90 Days coming up later this month. We would love to have you guys there. It's going to be very practical. I'm sharing my exact strategies we use with our clients that have helped them just crush it in their first 90 days, leading to faster recognition, amazing relationships built, a stellar reputation, faster promotions and raises as a result. And we want you to benefit from all of that. So if you are over on LinkedIn, please just check out the link that Lauren shared so that you can actually save your spot for that. And if you're joining us over on Instagram, all you have to do is actually comment 90 in the chat right now, and I can share the link to join us at the free Nail Your First 90 Days workshop coming up. So just comment 90 over on Instagram, and we'll send you those details. This is going to be really helpful whether you're in a new role, transitioning into a new role shortly, you're already in a new role for a few months. We want to make sure that you're getting it all right. Okay, amazing. And I think we've gotten some good questions ahead of time for some of the themes that we were planning to cover today around communication, interview success, and even some conflict oriented situations. So maybe, Lauren, you want to share some of those as we wait for some questions coming through. And again, as a reminder, everyone, please feel free to share your questions directly in the chat wherever you're joining us from on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram. And we'll be able to take those directly here and support you in that.
Amazing. So, kind of along the lines of communication, Tiffany, but question around what's the best way of going at finding an internal mentor in your organization?
Yeah, this is such a good one. And if you don't have an internal mentor, we highly recommend it. Mentorship goes a long way. Not that it's someone that is going to give you all the answers, but it's someone that can really help carve that path for you internally in your organization. So I'm going to share a few criteria that you can use when selecting an ideal mentor for you internally. The first is it someone that is on a career path that you want to emulate for yourself? Typically, this could be someone in the vertical growth track you're on, but possibly 2 to 3 levels up. So, someone that's kind of already been through a little bit what you're going to be navigating next and can fill in some of the gaps of what got them to where they are. And that way you can kind of reverse engineer where you're at to get yourself there. Another key criteria in picking a mentor is someone that you ultimately respect and admire. You don't want this to feel forced. You want it to feel really natural. And there are many organizations who actually have mentorship programs where they will like actually pair you with someone as your mentor. Personally, I've not found those to be very effective. And what we really encourage with our clients that's helped them really secure amazing mentors is having that ability to choose who you want and making sure it is someone that you personally respect and admire for whatever reason that might be. And the third criteria I would say is someone that can also help you in getting more networked in the organization. So ideally you want a mentor who has a great network already, right? Because if they take you under their wing, then they will be able to better facilitate introductions, exposure, and visibility for you. So those are 3 key things you want to keep in mind. And I'm going to even give a communication template of how you can actually make the ask to get a mentor. I know, Lauren, when we're supporting our clients, sometimes they initially kind of felt like a bit nervous of like, well, how do I actually go about that? Especially if it's like a senior leader. And a really good way of going about it is starting from a place of admiration and even maybe a little bit of flattery of what they've done. And having someone ask you to be their mentor is actually very, very humbling more than anything else. And so it's very rare that a mentorship ask will go terribly wrong unless you completely botch how you make the request. So we're going to just make sure you get it right with this type of template. So let's say, Lauren, you're someone I want to become my mentor right now. I would say something like, hi, Lauren, thanks again so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And I have to say, just looking at what you've been able to accomplish in the organization, stepping into your role as VP of the department, and everything that kind of led you to there from some of the prior roles that you've had, something that really speaks to me and the path that I'm looking to build here for myself. I would love to know if you'd be open to being my mentor. I really believe I can learn so much from you, both in the expertise you've gained, but also in navigating these next steps internally. Is that something that you'd be open to doing together? 99% of the time, Lauren's going to say, yes, I would love to. The only reason why we see sometimes mentorship asks don't go through is because of time. And so that's where you're also going to get ahead of this. Okay. So you're going to actually then layer on with something like, I know you're extremely busy and I want this to be very seamless for you. I'm extremely flexible in how we kind of work through this mentorship engagement, whether it's a quick informal touch base every now and then, or maybe just openness to possibly email you from time to time, or maybe we do actually set up like a dedicated lunch every quarter together. Really open to discussing what you would like that to look like. I'm just really grateful for your time and being able to do this together. And then you're going to land on that dynamic with your mentor of what they really appreciate and what they want to use moving forward with you. And then the rest is history. And having made quite a few mentors in my own career and supporting our clients on a regular basis to build both internal and external mentors, this strategy works really well. And they will be more, again, humbled and actually quite flattered that you're asking them to be your mentor, because it shows that they've done something that they can then pay it forward to someone else. And if they're a good leader and a good person, they'll be more than happy to do that. So hopefully that helps. That's a great question.
Tiffany, would you say that this unlock of the mentorship was your biggest success to all the success you achieved at L'Oreal, since you had so many promotion, you really were on such a accelerated track for yourself?
I would say it actually went beyond mentorship. I recognized early the importance of mentors at different levels of seniority while I was at L'Oreal. But I will say, even beyond that, it was more the importance of having what we like to call your support system or cheer squad. So it doesn't even have to be official mentors, it's just people that are in your corner who can speak highly of you when you're not there, right? That really builds your own personal brand, which is something we really support our clients heavily on, because that's a huge unlock when you do that really well in helping to nurture those relationships that you're building. So I'd say it would be more about that, Lauren, than anything else. Having designated mentors is a really nice cherry on top, because you can obviously have a bit more in depth conversations with them. You can kind of really learn from their specific experience, because it just kind of goes with the territory of having a mentor. But just know that you don't have to limit yourself to just that. Like
Yeah.
it almost fuels the muscle needed to like go after a broader support system, to have even more people supporting you and advocating for you and speaking highly of you, in addition to you doing that for yourself. So you can't just rely on other people to do it. But it's definitely a big proponent, which helped me very much in my own advancement journey at L'Oreal, as well as my teams, but now also very much our clients who are implementing that system. It's so interesting too, because we just had a situation with one of our clients this week who literally did the thing of like building up that support system and having some pretty direct conversations in identifying where their growth opportunities were. And it really unlocked like a whole next step of alignment and buy-in in supporting her towards that next promotion, which she was like, I can't believe it. This leader has always been very resistant to these conversations in the past. They didn't feel as open to having those talks with me. And now it's like night and day difference of the type of response that I'm getting and the type of support that I'm feeling in return. So it's a pretty powerful thing when you do that, and you do it pretty regularly.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I have another question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I freezing, by the way?
You are not.
Okay, good. On my other screen, I look frozen, so I'm hoping
Of
if
course.
anyone's on
Oh, all
LinkedIn.
good. All
Like,
good. And again, guys, as a reminder, please feel free to share your questions. We're just taking some that came through ahead of time through our email. By the way, if you're not part of our Peak Performers newsletter, we'd love to have you there, as we always tee up our events that we have every week and exclusive first access invites and whatnot. So you definitely want to be there. You can actually access it directly from my LinkedIn page if it's easier for you, or directly from my website as well at www.tiffanyhuman.com. But yes, please feel free to share any questions live while you're with us, depending which platform you're joining us from.
okay, amazing. So we're still sticking in kind of our network theme, but I just joined a new company and I wanted to grow quickly, but I see many professionals within the organization with greater experience than I have are not getting promoted. What do I do?
Mm. Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So, the first part, Lauren, that you're sharing is that they've been growing fairly well, but they're kind of seeing others plateauing. Is that what I'm gathering well?
I think it's they're new in the organization and they're very highly motivated to continue to get to new levels, but now their
Yeah.
eyes are open to peers that they probably didn't meet within the interview process that aren't at those levels.
Yeah. The first thing I'm going to say is don't get discouraged by that.
Yeah.
I see that as like fuel to figure things out and understand what's happening on the inside. And why I say that and why this is so important in an organizational context is sometimes people are staying in the roles longer not because the growth opportunity is not there for them, but because they didn't know how to make it happen faster. And so you don't want to base your own level of possibility based off of someone else's stagnation. So that's the first thing. The second thing is use this as fuel to figure out what your path forward does look like and what realistic timelines you should be expecting and working towards. And don't take that at face value. You're getting that insight so you know what are the parameters you're working with in your company, but it's not saying that, oh, well, if they tell me it's going to take me 3 years to get to that next step, well, I guess it's going to take me 3 years to get to that next step. Not quite, right? That might be what they typically see for their average employee. But as Lauren knows very well here, we're all about building peak performers, right? And peak performers do things differently. They use that information to their advantage of how can I get there faster? What would help me close that gap? What is the support I'm missing to be able to build my readiness faster? So you're using this as a learning opportunity to really assess for yourself what does that growth path look like and what timelines can you realistically work towards and help yourself in accelerating or getting there faster based of the knowledge that you're building on the inside. And when you're starting to think of it more like that as opposed to these finite parameters, you're able to actually think a lot differently of the actions that you take, right? I can tell you, we've had a lot of conversations about that, Lauren, with our clients who had been in organizations with a little bit of an older population, both like experience, but also in age, where they had previously been met with feedback like, well, it took me 5 years to get to this promotion. So it's going to take you 5 years to get to that promotion. And it's very much this like old school mindset that because it took me this amount of time, it's going to have to take you that amount of time. And what we do in supporting them is we just like flip that on its head. It's like, okay, that might be what they think, but we're going to get creative and build other relationships and build up your personal brand and build up your self advocacy and exposure so that you can actually bring this opportunity towards you faster. And that's always just the amazing transformation that we see of like helping you get to that next level without that guesswork,
Yeah.
because it's 100% possible. And I maybe the last thought I'd share here on that question, Lauren, is just also ask yourself if this is genuinely an organization you want to grow with. Like, despite what you're seeing with some other leaders that might not have moved as quickly as you would like to, ask yourself if you can see yourself being a part of this organization longer term.
Mhm.
Because if that's the case, then that's already a good sign. And then the question then becomes, well, how do I make that my reality? And please don't be shy in sharing what your expectations are. You don't have to make it come off that you need this to happen tomorrow. But if you want this to happen in the next year and a half, well, it's better that they know that and that you know that so that you're building an actual plan to get there in that timeline versus being dangled like a carrot, being like, it's going to happen. Trust in the system,
Yeah.
just wait it out, keep doing what you're doing. That is not helpful feedback. And that's the type of guidance that keeps you stuck and spinning your wheels. So, moral of the story, there's 100% opportunity for growth, but use what you're observing internally as room for asking questions, getting more insight. What does that mean for you? How do you accelerate that timeline? And then you can make a more logical assessment of how you want to move forward. Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
Tiffany, I think we are having a little technical difficulties on LinkedIn. So I don't know if we want any who's trying to join on LinkedIn. Thank you for Katie who pointed that out. Have moved. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, but for some reason LinkedIn is being a little
A little wonky today. All
finicky.
right, guys. Well, thank you for hopping over. And it's also one of the reasons why we have our different platforms running here so that you can find us on 3 options. So one is not being super cooperative. That is okay. We have a great audience joining us right now over on Instagram as well. So whatever's easier for you guys. And again, please feel free to share your questions. I'm scanning it like a fine tooth comb right now to make sure that you have everything that we need. And I don't think I've missed any questions so far. If anyone, I think I'm getting a one question of if they can message me privately, you certainly can. You're more than welcome to also share it here so that we can take it live right now. And as a quick reminder for those who are trickling in, we are hosting an amazing all new free workshop in the next few weeks called Nail Your First 90 Days. So it's going to be very much focused on helping you just crush it with confidence in your new job or a newly promoted role, because there's a lot of nuance there. And we've seen so much success for our own clients of when you nail that first 90 days, like the promotion and raises that come as a function of that are life changing. And we never want you to discount the things, the do's, the don'ts, all of the how to's that we're going to be breaking down for you to build up an incredible reputation, build the right relationships out of the gate, gain that visibility and recognition, and also really set you up on an accelerated track, right? So please join us there. We have the link over on LinkedIn. If ever it's not working, you can come back and check it out after. If you are joining on Instagram, just comment 90 right in our live right now, and I'll be able to DM you the details. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Lauren. I think Katie had a question though, if I'm not mistaken. She was sharing that she was wanting to share her question. Did we see that come through?
I haven't seen it come through yet. So Katie, we'll be on the lookout for you. But no, I haven't seen it come through
Okay.
on YouTube.
Okay, perfect. So why don't we take maybe one of the other questions that came through ahead of time?
Okay. So situation in an organization. So I have a current situation about my team lead changing. I'm scared that the new lead will have new goals. What are some action steps I could take to keep them as an ally and also push my own initiatives?
Yeah, this is an amazing question. An amazing question. I actually just helped one of our clients with this yesterday in our Career Success Fast Track program as well. So, when you have a new team lead who's coming in and is looking at maybe switching up goals or they have their own vision, a few things to just keep in mind on like the behind the scenes. Okay. This new team lead, especially if they're new to the company altogether, but even if they're new to the team, they have pressure on their shoulders coming in because they need to be able to show up and impress and make an impact early on. And so sometimes their need or desire, if I can put it like that, to reiterate different goals or make their stamp early on is more for them than anything to do with the team, where they're like, well, I have to make this my own, right? So that's sometimes their own pressure coming in that is really important of kind of showcasing where their headspace might be coming from. Now, that said, being someone that's been on the team already, you want to have that initial integration conversation, probably in the first week or so that you're having this new team lead, to give them context as to what's been done prior to them joining and also some of the goals that you were already working through as a team or maybe even personally for your own development. So they have a good level set expectation of what and where you stand. And they might volunteer some of the goals that they're working towards coming into the team. They might be sharing priorities that they have. And that really should remain very conversational of what is, their motive in bringing in those goals. Maybe it's a mandate that they've been given from the leadership team, and you filling in the blanks around what's already been done, what's been working, where there's some opportunities. It's actually going to help your team lead to feel very well supported by you and will view you quite quickly as an ally to them than something in the form of like a hindrance, right? And so when you're actually helping to fill in those gaps with them and really taking the time to understand what their goals are, what is their vision, what are they excited to put into place coming into the team, taking the time to show that genuine interest is going to help them feel very excited and validated in what they're bringing in. And then that's your cue to kind of fill in the balance of that equation, right? Of what's already been happening, what's already been running over the past months or year. What are things that are working? What are goals that you have? What are goals that the team has had? And if you are seeing a bit of a disconnect in what you've previously been doing and what this new team lead is coming in with, just clarify. You could say something very simply like, thanks so much for sharing more context on the goals that you have coming into the team. I wanted to share some context to some of the goals that we were previously working on, as there is a little bit of, a disconnect, and I'm all for moving in this direction. I simply wanted you to have that context to make sure that, you have all the information and we can decide what path forward might be best together. Right. And then, like that, again, you're just really informing and guiding them in integrating more seamlessly into the team. And you become this great resource of information to them in helping them in that. That's what I found to be really helpful for the clients that we're serving, and having any change of manager, change of leadership, restructures that are happening. Do not underestimate, information being transferred over from one manager to another. It doesn't often happen very seamlessly. And that's where you really come in to help fill in those gaps, to make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks, especially as it relates to your own development goals. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's great. I know
Yeah.
you personally helped me with that, Tiffany, when I was a client of yours. I was going through an organization that had just gone through a public sale, and then on top of that, new leadership, both from an executive level that came in, but also even my manager. And I ended up becoming, with framing myself that way, her go-to. And it was a really like nice relationship and nice balance, versus like this push pull, or this like, she wants this, I want that.
Yeah.
It was a very collaborative experience.
Oh, amazing. These are good questions today, guys, and please keep them coming. Feel free to drop the questions directly over, if you are on LinkedIn and it's working now, share it there, over on Instagram, or even over on YouTube. Okay. I hope I'm not freezing over on Instagram, because it looks a little frozen right now. Please let me know, guys, if you are joining us on Instagram, if it is looking like it's frozen. But we got a great question from Katie from LinkedIn, and then also one on Instagram. So I'm going to take those next.
Amazing.
It's a long one from Katie, so I can't pop the whole thing up. It'll get cut off. So I'll just read it out. Okay, so this will probably come out a little clunky, but what is your perspective on taking a job with a company that you feel you would fit in, but I would be at the higher level of the compensation being provided, so there would be little opportunity for growth with salary? Do I take the job so I have a foot in the door, or do I wait for a job that would pay more money and I would be at the mid level? I know a lot has to do with all of the other benefits, team role, etc., but I keep getting caught on the idea of being at the higher range of the compensation that was listed in the job description. This is all to say I haven't been offered the job yet, but the compensation has been a concern I've shared with the hiring team. Okay. This is a really good one, Katie. There's different ways you can look at it. I'll definitely share my guidance in the way that I've also supported a client I have in mind that's reminding me very much of you right now. Um, because you can absolutely take this opportunity if you genuinely feel excited about it, and the purpose it serves for you right now in your career is kind of checking off all the boxes of what you value most. I wouldn't get caught up in future salary growth. Especially, by the way, this is something I can directly help you with if ever you want. We actually just helped one of our members secure an additional 10K on the base upper end spectrum of salary that her employer was giving her. So I just like always see this as a challenge of like, they're saying this, but there's always some wiggle room. You just need to know how to maneuver it. So at the heart of it, we don't want necessarily the money to be like the main constraint that's making the decision criteria for you right now. It's part of it, and I totally get that. But if you genuinely feel like maybe the culture, the team, the type of projects that you get to lead is actually going to be a bigger springboard for you of what comes next, who's to say, Katie, that you don't get offered another incredible opportunity down the line, or you get to create your own opportunity inside the organization, which we've helped many of our clients do, of like creating things that weren't even there when they first joined their organization. So I'm a much bigger advocate of focusing on what you can implicate now, as opposed to depending on something theoretical in the future, right? Whereas, if you don't take this opportunity and you hold off and wait for something, that's a higher pay, but might not actually meet all the other things that are important for you the way that this organization does, you might actually feel a very similar way, but just not financially, more in terms of like growth potential or maybe feeling challenged or stimulated. So I want us to be a little bit more like methodical in how we're thinking about this decision for you, to really rate the criteria of, compensation, maybe growth, internal team dynamic, the types of projects, the type of leadership. Like really take the time to rank that for you, Katie, and see, if I'm getting like all of these things and I'm still coming in at a pretty decent salary band, that's the highest end. And then it's more like the what's next that I have to work through. That's always something that we can work through, right? And it could also be a great stepping stone for having even a more senior role internally there at one point or even somewhere else. And for what it's worth, the client I was referencing that you're reminding me of, when I was working with her initially, we had landed her what she thought at that point was her dream role. It was an amazing role for her with an incredible six-figure comp package. And about 3 weeks into having started the role, she got an offer from her actual dream organization that she was like, I don't know what to do, Tiffany. Like, this role is too good to pass up, but I literally have just started here. What do I do? And we supported her in moving organizations based off of the criteria that we ran through together and what was most important for her. And she was so nervous that making that change was going to burn all the relationships she was forging in this new company that she had just recently joined. But we actually did it in a way that was very respectful, that didn't burn any bridge. She actually left on extremely good terms and started in that new role, which she was like, this was the best decision I could have made. And it just was that confidence to go for it. So just know for you, Katie, that even if you start in this company and you're like, this is really good for the foreseeable future, and something else comes up or you decide you want to change, that is totally your right. This is your career to be in control of, right? So just know that there's always opportunities to negotiate, to create opportunity, to move opportunities, to change roles. But try to focus on what's most immediate in front of you and see that so long as it's a springboard to what you ultimately want to achieve and it's going to help you get there, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. So I hope that helps, Katie, as you're going through that decision making right now. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Let's come to the question I saw that also came through, Lauren, in our Instagram chat here. Any just additional thoughts from you, Lauren, on what I just shared with Katie?
No, but it's funny. We have another client who emailed me the same thing yesterday. So I'm like jotting down. I'm like, I'm going to tell Chris to listen to this. But I mean, you're right. And it also happens. These opportunities kind of come out. That's like the best, they come kind of out of thin air. So
Yeah.
I love your perspective of not getting, I think we can get really tunnel vision on certain things and really like focusing only on the comp band or only on X and really not see a bigger picture. That's so important that you just bring that lens and that strategic vision to our clients and to everyone on here, and
Yeah.
those nuances that are particular to your particular situation.
Totally. Totally. Okay, this is great. We're going to keep it going. I think we have another question here from C. Prieto from Instagram. And for anyone joining us right now on Instagram, just let me know if we are frozen, because the view I'm seeing is that we're frozen. So just let me know if we're yes, frozen, or no. That would be very helpful. And as a quick reminder, guys, for anyone joining us live who's just trickled in, we are hosting an amazing free live workshop, a brand new one that I've never hosted live before, called Nail Your First 90 Days. So if you are in a new role, going to be transitioning into a new role, you've recently been promoted, you have to be here. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to be walking through all of the how-tos that are going to boost your confidence and reputation building in a new role, get the right relationships in your corner, really maximize your visibility, and in a way that will absolutely fast track your way to promotions and raises on the inside. And those first 90 days are so critical. We'll also have plenty of time for Q&A. So please register, save your spot. It's going to be a great one coming up later this month. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, you can go ahead and save your seat right there in the link that Lauren shared. And if you're joining us on Instagram, you can just comment 90 and I'll send the details to you after this. And on YouTube as well, you can actually just access it from there or directly from my website, www.tiffanyhuman.com. Okay, so the question from C. Prieto was I'm starting a new contracted position Monday. I'm having second thoughts now because I'm currently interviewing for 3 of my target companies. It's going to be hard to take time off. Please advise. So I imagine you're referring to creating the time for the interviews while you're starting this new contract position. I get that. It's a little bit of a challenge. You're probably going to have to get a little creative if you do want to see through those other opportunities. There's always the option to kind of withdraw and not see those through. But if you're like, I really do want to see those through just to see where that might net out, maybe it's an even better opportunity for me, like I was just alluding to Katie, then you kind of owe it to yourself to see it through. And so I would recommend, if possible, trying to schedule those interviews like early morning or maybe over lunch hour or possibly end of day, although you really want to try to interview earlier in the day, not later in the day. So if you're able to work that through in terms of timing, it's something you could kind of easily get around with your current organization, especially if it's an organization that isn't so stringent with like you got to clock in and clock out at this exact time. More often than not, our companies aren't so rigid about that. So it will likely give you that flexibility in the early morning or like lunch hour timing. And hopefully that works to slot in some of those additional interviews, right? I kind of just want to keep it very vague. You don't want to really allude to lying that like you have a doctor's appointment or you have this appointment, because then that's going to start sounding very fishy if you're like making up an excuse every day for a whole week. And I don't know how close together your interviews are, but I would just recommend try to work it on a better timing so it doesn't really raise any concerns or flags for you with your new organization. Okay, let me know if that helps. And thank you guys for confirming that I'm not frozen on Instagram. So hopefully that's okay. We got another question also, Lauren, from Pril Biba. Tiffany, do you think that to contribute more value as a basis to negotiate higher salary, we should work longer than working hours? No, not necessarily working longer hours. I'm big on less is more. Longer hours doesn't mean better results. Let's be very clear about that. Um, I want you to focus on impact over hours. Okay. Impact over hours wins any day of the week. And so for you to be able to negotiate a higher salary, especially imagine this is an internal negotiation based off the wording of your question, it's not about just working longer, it's about bringing better outcomes to the business. And if you can actually do that in less time, in less hours, that even works better in your favor for negotiation because it shows you're a much more efficient employee than someone who actually needs more time to drive the same outcome as you. And so the way that you can think of it like that is going to be much more positive in fueling your negotiation. I was actually just helping one of our clients, Michelle, work through this for her internal promotion around team size and team expansion, which was one of the criteria that she was being told was very important for promotion, just from a contact she had internally who was also in that same promotion track prior. And the way we really flipped that was looking at what she's been able to do with her team size and how much she's been able to stretch that to show that even with the team size that she had, she was able to drive these kinds of incredible results. So just imagine if she had a bigger team, right? And so you just kind of have to flip that narrative to make sure that it's not something that holds you back, but actually is a contributor to get you where you want to go and what you want. So I hope that helps, just seeing that reframe. A lot of it is about reframing and helping set you up for success in that. And of course, if anyone wants more direct support in any of the questions that we're tackling today or any area in your career of getting to that next level faster, we would love to speak with you. Lauren and I, we offer one-on-one clarity calls with our team. You can actually book that directly over on LinkedIn with our book an appointment link. That's right there on my page. If you're joining us on Instagram, please feel free to comment call and we'll send you the details to book the call with us afterwards as well. Because I can't tell you how helpful it is to get that kind of one-on-one guidance that's really personalized to your specific situation and get you to from your point A to point B faster. So if you are looking for more of that one-on-one support, you're ready to take action, you're like, okay, it's like October. I'm not really where I wanted to be at this point in the year. The best thing to do is take action, take matters into your own hands. Like that's the biggest gift you can give yourself, is the gift of taking action towards what's going to get you to where you want to go faster. Okay, so hopefully that helps, guys. Let me know. We'll maybe take one or two last questions, Lauren, for today. I think we've covered most of them that I saw coming through on Instagram as of now. Let me know if there's any that we missed over on LinkedIn or YouTube. I think we got one more that came through ahead of time as well.
Yep. I have an interviewing question, Tiff, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure.
So, just an interviewing process question. The job offer that I applied for is not available anymore. How can I ask the team? It says before making up my mind, but I'm assuming how can you ask the team like where did it go?
So they had an offer and it's kind of vanished.
They had a they had a job interview, like the job posting went away.
Oh, the job posting and it disappeared. Yes. And they were interested in it. Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is don't just bank on job postings or online applications because if this is an organization you want to be a part of, you want to find another way in. And networking is going to be your biggest gateway. I just had a whole, deep dive on this with our program members yesterday of how much success we're seeing from our members landing their jobs. Just like 3 members this week landed their new jobs within less than 2 months, and some were even within like 6 to 7 weeks because of networking. It's very powerful. So we know that job postings go up. Sometimes they come down more quickly. And then it's like, well, what do I do? Like, do I still apply? Do I not apply? Do I reach out to someone? Yeah, get in front of people that are leading the hiring decisions in that organization. And that's something you can do pretty easily over on LinkedIn on the company page, going down into the people section, drilling down by region and function and job title. And you'll already get a pretty good short list of who's probably the hiring managers, the talent acquisition managers. And you can reach out to them on LinkedIn as an example. You might not be connected to them yet. So maybe you want to use an initial connection request to reach out and say something like, hey, Lauren, I really love the work you're doing at X company. I noticed this. Congrats on all of that. I recently saw a posting for this role. It's no longer available. I would love to still chat about that with you. Looking forward to connecting. And like that, you're going to kind of get your in to be able to have more of a conversation about maybe that role, but maybe another role, right? And that's why these types of networking conversations are so important because it's getting you on the radar of the decision makers without just playing the waiting game, which most job seekers are doing today of just applying and waiting for people to get back to them. That's not enough anymore. It's maybe was never really enough to be quite honest, but it's certainly not enough in the competitive market that we're seeing today. And so don't be discouraged if the posting is not there anymore. I've seen it many a time, and I know Lauren has too, where job postings have resurfaced. They've gone away, and then like a month later, oh, it's back up because they haven't found the right person. It's the same thing as seeing a job posting with hundreds of applicants and being like, well, I guess I shouldn't apply. There's already 100 applications. Maybe those aren't the right applicants. Maybe they're not at all what they're looking for, and you are the one that they are looking for. So we're just very big of like going to the source and making sure that you're building really meaningful relationships with those people who influence the decision. It could be even with people that are working in your target department, getting more advocates on the inside that can actually get your resume in front of someone, right? That's exactly what helped one of our recent members who just landed her job offer this week at her dream organization. It was through networking and getting around the online application. She did not apply online. It was purely through connections that fast tracked her way into an interview process and she closed it within like a little under 2 weeks, right? So that's where I like to recommend focusing more of your energy and finding that creative way in through a really intentional networking plan. Okay. So hopefully that helps give a little bit more indication of how to do that with some communication ideas to make those inroads.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so interesting too, Tiffany. Like we're in such a digital age and the ease of being behind a computer and remote everything. But actually what's working is that touch point again and getting back in front of people and those connections and then the excitement that comes. I know I feel that like when I put someone in contact with someone else from a connection standpoint, like I feel excited. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a professional matchmaker. And then people are flourishing on both ends. So it's really
yeah.
interesting that piece of that, that human connection.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one. It's such a big one. And more people are craving that, right?
Mhm.
So don't be shy to shoot your shot and be bold because it will pay off. It will pay off. You just have to put yourself out there. Don't wait for people to find you. Make them find you. Create your own opportunities. This is exactly what's helped our clients this year land their roles within 4 to 8 weeks on average because we're not waiting around. We're
Yeah.
making it happen. Okay, I'm going to take Annie's question and then we'll probably close out to see if there's any last ones. Annie's question was, I have a question thinking back to the prior days. What could be a good way to add my point of view that's different from my boss in a department meeting that wouldn't make my boss look odd or maybe look bad also? This is a great one. So you want to come at it, Annie, from a place of kind of curiosity as opposed to overstepping. Okay. So here's what not to do. Okay. Let's say your boss just shared a point and you're like, okay, I have a totally different point that we actually haven't talked about and I want to share it. You don't want to just blurt out and say, like, I also think this, and then it's very contrary to what your boss just shared. Okay. What you can do if you haven't discussed this prior, and in an ideal world, and you would have discussed this prior, so you and your boss go into the meeting very much in line with what each other is going to say. But let's say you didn't do that and you're in the meeting, you want to approach it more like this. So let's say your boss just shared something in this department meeting. You could say something like, yeah, I completely agree with what Michelle just shared, as it's, very much important tied to this. One other perspective I'd love to throw out there as well is, and then you share your perspective. So you're not discounting what your boss just shared, but you're kind of volunteering another perspective that's worth considering. And you probably want to give context as to why you're suggesting that, right? So you could say something like, one perspective I'd also love to throw out there that is really complementary to what Michelle just shared is this: because of X data point or X fact, right? If you can give context as to why you're adding that, so it doesn't just feel like you're liking the sound of your own voice and wanting to talk for the sake of talking, but more about bringing value in the conversation and maybe a point that is very much worth discussing as a team, as opposed to just not sharing it at all, that's going to be much better perceived than kind of overstepping your boss of just saying a point for the sake of saying it and not having that alignment or context as to why you're sharing that. So I definitely hope that helps you, Annie, and how you think about that. Please know that owning your voice is so important. It's a huge focus of what we do with our clients when it comes to communication confidence, whether in group meetings, one on one meetings, any type of conversation and public speaking moment. This is your chance to share your value and what you bring and help the team make a better informed decision. And staying silent is often not the answer in that. So, I'd love for you to kind of use that and employ that strategy to get that recognition and get that visibility without doing it in a way that's going to rub your boss the wrong way. But again, pro tip: if you're able to better align on that with your boss beforehand, I would highly recommend doing so. That way you come at it much more unified. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us in our Friday Career Accelerator event. And we're so happy to have you here wherever you are joining us from. Again, we host these every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time because we know there is a lot of information out there. Watching content is one thing, being able to get your questions answered for your specific situation is a whole different story. And we're not just sharing what sounds nice, we're sharing what actually works, what we are using with our clients day in and day out to get them incredible results in their career. And if you are looking for any more one on one support to take your career to the next level and really kind of get yourself there a lot faster, we would love to talk with you. Please feel free to book your one-on-one clarity call with our team, whether over on LinkedIn or just call directly on our Instagram live, and I'll share those details. And of course, if you haven't already, please save your spot for our upcoming free live workshop called Nail Your First 90 Days. I know Lauren's already shared those details on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you're joining from Instagram, just comment 90 and I'll be able to share the details to save your spot. We've already gotten quite a few registrants coming in, because I can tell you, like, when you know how to do that, guys, like, my gosh, does this just set you up for so much success? And the beauty of it, what I'm going to teach you is what you can continually do in any new role you take on.
Mhm.
And the cherry on top is you can do this upwards or downwards, meaning that you can do this as the employee on a team or you can use it reverse engineer style as the manager of your team in bringing in new team members. So, just a lot of wealth of insight that you're going to really walk away from that you can implement right away. And we can't wait to have you guys there. Any last words from you, Lauren, before we wrap up?
No, this is great, Tiffany. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thanks to
I'm
everybody who joined us. This is great. We've got some regulars here.
Yeah, yeah.
I love seeing
And
that
feel
level of
free
commitment.
to connect with me on LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn was being a little finicky, but I've obviously posted a few times. But feel free to connect, and thank you for all those who sent me private messages prior. It's amazing, and then I get to share your wins, the next week. So keep us in the loop on what's going on in your career journey.
Yeah, yeah. We appreciate you guys so much. We know that your time is precious and you chose to be here with us today. That means a lot. We do not take that lightly. And we hope that you walked away with some great actionable steps you can use right now in your career. And if we didn't get to a question that you had, no worries. Feel free to join us here next week, same time, next Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and choose the platform of choice that works best for you. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next